The power of a woman. No one talks about the shadow side of female nature. Intuition, manipulation, vulnerability as a weapon. You were not born to be light. Light is what people see, but you are what is felt when it gets quiet. When a man turns his head and doesn't understand why he suddenly feels uneasy or melancholic, or calm, to the point of trembling, you are not a display, not a facade. You are the underground river. Inside every woman there is something unnamed, something beyond description, like the smell of rain before a storm, like the feeling of someone's gaze on your back, like a whisper that isn't heard, but your body responds. It is the ancient part. It knows no rules, needs no approval. It doesn't care about likes or status. You can't attach it to an image. You can't make it understandable, because it is the shadow, and in that shadow lies a power no one talks about. You can spend years being right, walking the circle of expectations, trying to be better, better than your mother, better than the one he chose before you, better than you were yesterday. You can chase that endless should, and each time feel you're still not enough, because the real you is not in that, not in striving, but in knowing. You simply know. A woman in whom this power awakens does not need explanations. She feels lies behind a tender tone. She hears danger behind a smile. She picks up vibrations that make a man's back tense, though she hasn't spoken a word. You don't understand why someone leaves you for no reason. You don't understand why someone is afraid to meet your eyes. But deep down, you feel everything, because within you is that ancient whisper, the one that doesn't come from the head but from the blood. It's not magic, it's nature. It's the voice of the part that's always been with you, even in childhood, even when you didn't have the words to name things. You knew someone was unsafe, even when they patted your head. You felt your mother's sadness, even when she smiled. You sensed that something important was happening to you, though you couldn't express it. And so you learned to be silent. You learned to adapt. You became good, calm, obedient. You learned to anticipate others' desires and lose your own. You became convenient and quietly weakening, because each time you betrayed your nature to be accepted, something went missing inside, like something had been cut away, and the question grew louder. Where is the real me? Your power is not in being liked. It's in simply being. You can sit silently in a room, and the atmosphere begins to shift. You can say 3 words, and someone will feel a change in their body temperature, because you are not an exterior. You are a field. You are breath, scent, tension in the air. You are a woman in whom she has awakened. She is the one no one spoke of, the one they called witch, odd, too sensitive, the one who had no evidence but always had the truth. In her lives your intuition, in her lives your power, not demonstrative, not loud, but hidden, under your skin, within. A woman's strength isn't what glitters, it's what stirs in the dark, like snakes under roots, like a wolf waiting in shadow, like a tree whose roots are stronger than its crown. You are not a flower. You are the forest. And no matter how often they tell you to be soft, bright, understandable, you can be rain, you can be storm, you can be silence before the thunder. You are unexplainable. You are real. You are alive. And your strength begins the moment you stop fearing your own depth. When you don't numb your body with a pill. When you don't silence your intuition with logic. When you don't hide your tears behind a smile. A woman who allows herself to feel becomes untouchable by the outside world. Because her truth doesn't lie in evidence, it lies in sensation. And sensation never lies. Your strength isn't outside. It's the whisper in your blood, and that whisper tells you you do not have to be light. You may be shadow, and in that lies your unexplainable power. They told you from childhood, be kind, be modest, be obedient. You learned to step back, to give in, to swallow, to stay silent. You weren't supposed to get angry, to demand, to resist, because good girls don't do that. But where then is the one who feels differently? You were born with fire in your belly, with a roar in your voice, with wildness in your bones. But they taught you that must be hidden. It's dangerous. It will make you lonely. So you hid it, suppressed it, broke yourself to fit their expectations. You became convenient. You became pretty. You became safe for the world. And without realizing, you stopped being yourself, because a real woman is not a smooth shell, not a polite smile, not I'm fine with shaking hands. A real woman is a storm, sharp edges, a shadow she is no longer afraid of. The shadow is not evil. The shadow is you. You who cries from hurt when ignored. You who wants to scream when betrayed. You who feels jealousy, envy, anger, longing for attention, fear of being abandoned. And this doesn't make you bad. It makes you alive. As long as you hide your shadow, it controls you from within. You'll endure things with a smile. You'll store resentment until you explode. You'll suffer endlessly because you constantly suppress. But the moment you speak the truth to yourself, liberation begins. Yes, I'm angry. Yes, I'm in pain. Yes, I want him to regret it. Yes, I'm tired of being good. At that moment, for the first time, you speak with your real self. Not glamorous, not convenient, but the one who's been hiding all your life in the corner of your soul, like a little girl never invited to the table. You fear this shadow because you don't know how to be with her. You're afraid of becoming bad, afraid of judgment. But the truth is, no one has ever judged you more than you have. You scolded yourself for anger. You felt shame for crying. You forbade yourself jealousy, desire, demands, but in all that lives your fire. You won't become a predator by acknowledging your shadow. You'll become whole. You are not only light, you are also night. You are not only love, you are also rage. You are not only tenderness, you are also the strength that can destroy. When you hide your shadow, you give it to others. You see bad women and hate them for daring to be free. You hate in them what you do not allow in yourself. You fear their sexuality, their bluntness, their boldness. Because deep down, you are the same, just forgotten. But the moment you open the door, you see she is not frightening. She embraces you. She says, I'm here. I've always been. I am you. Your shadow side is not an enemy. It is an ally. She'll tell you when the line's been crossed. She'll lift you when you're lying broken. She'll give you a spine when no one else stands with you. You cannot be half alive. You cannot be light without shadow, because only in acknowledging all of yourself is real feminine power born. A strong woman is not the one who endures everything and never gets angry. A strong woman is the one who sees herself fully, who isn't afraid of her tears, who doesn't hide her jealousy, who says, I hold all of it, the light and the dark, and that makes me real. You were born in the shadow, you grew up in it, and it gave you intuition, sensitivity, passion, resistance. Your shadow is not a flaw. It is your roots, and the deeper you go into it, the higher you rise in your life. Don't fear your wildness. Don't fear your passion. Don't fear your no. Don't fear being the woman who doesn't smile when she's hurt, because it is precisely there that your unapologetic power begins. Intuition is not a gift, not a privilege. It's not something given to the special. It is an organ, like sight, like hearing, like skin. You had it from the very beginning. You were just not allowed to keep it. Intuition is not a sixth sense. It is the first, the earliest, the most delicate, the most precise. You feel before you understand. You know before you hear. You see what hides between words. In childhood it was clear. You sensed someone was unsafe, even if they smiled. You didn't want to hug a person who later turned out cruel. You felt heaviness in the room, and only then the truth came to light. But the world told you, don't make things up. Show me the proof. You imagined it, and you learned to doubt yourself. You learned to deny your knowing. From an early age, women are taught that their feelings are weakness, that tears are drama, that worry is overreaction, that suspicion is foolishness. So she starts muting the signals that were meant to protect her from pain. You begin to explain away someone's lies. You justify those who betray you. You tell yourself, he didn't mean to. I made it up. I'm just too sensitive. But inside you already knew. You knew when he lied, when he wasn't truly with you, when he wanted to leave but hadn't dared, when he returned from another's bed smelling like your shampoo. You felt it, and it couldn't be removed. You knew when your child was sick, before any fever. You knew when a friend had drifted, even if you still chatted. You knew when someone smiled, but their heart was shut. You knew, because you are a woman. And feminine intuition is not a gift. It is the language of the blood. When you trust it, you become whole. You no longer need evidence. You don't wait for things to become obvious. You simply know. And that is enough. Intuition isn't a hunch that might not happen. It's deep sensitivity beyond words. You pick up frequencies like an antenna. You read the silence between sentences. You understand what someone thinks by the way they don't look. And the closer you are to yourself, the clearer the signal. But if you don't hear yourself, you start searching outward, looking into others' eyes, asking, needing confirmation, doubting, wasting energy on what if. And each time you end up in pain you could have prevented. You suffer not because you didn't feel, but because you didn't believe yourself. You heard the signal, but you covered your ears. You felt that something was wrong, but turned on logic. You felt anxious, but called it tiredness. And later, it turned out you were right. Again, every woman knows this moment when everything unfolds, when the feeling she ignored for so long proves true, and in that moment, the disappointment with herself because you knew. You just didn't allow yourself to know. Intuition isn't a voice, it's breath, it's body, it's heat and cold arriving without reason. It's a chill, a sense of not this, a taste in your mouth. It's saying no because something inside shifted. And if you stop muting it, you become magnetic. You go not where it's logical, but where you feel alive. You choose people by vibration. You sense lies and simply step away. You don't explain. You don't prove. You choose yourself. A woman with intuition is inconvenient. You can't play games with her. You can't deceive her with sweet words. She won't fall for the facade. She senses, and that alone is enough to leave or stay. The world fears such women. They're like mirrors. You can't hide in them. That's why they're called too sensitive, difficult, untrusting. But the truth is, they're simply not deaf to themselves. And that is terrifying. You always knew. You just spent too long asking for permission. Too long looking into others' eyes, trying to understand, am I really right? But now, it's time to return to yourself. To feel, to listen, to trust. You don't have to explain, you don't have to prove. You know, and that is enough. Intuition is an ancient language, the language of women who knew before they were told, who felt before they saw, who walked away without drama and saved without medals on their chest. You are their continuation. You are the woman who remembers through the skin. They told you from childhood, be strong. But what they meant by strong had nothing to do with what you actually felt. They meant don't cry, don't complain, don't speak of pain. The kind of strength expected of you resembled concrete, emotionless, crackless, no right to fall. But concrete crumbles. And you knew this before anyone else. You tried to be resilient. You stayed silent when things hurt. You smiled when you felt alone. You said, I'm fine, instead of, I'm scared. You swallowed your tears back down because that's what you were supposed to do. And no one knew how many nights you lived with torn-up breathing. You called it strength, but it was protection, a mask behind which your vulnerability was hiding, the one no one talked about, the one they once mocked you for, the one you decided you'd never show again. But real strength, it's not in armor. It's in saying, I'm hurting, and feeling no shame for it. It's in not being afraid to break, not because you're weak, but because you're alive. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's an open door. It's transparency, only possible for someone who's no longer afraid to fall, because she knows, even if she falls, she will rise. You can be gentle, you can tremble, you can not know what to do next, and still not lose yourself. Because vulnerability is not about weakness, it's about presence, about not running from your truth, about being unmasked. A strong woman is not the one who walks with a rigid spine and clenched jaw. She is the one who allows herself to be real. And if she feels pain, she feels it, not numbs it. If she wants to say, I'm scared, she says it. Without hysteria, without games, without hoping someone will save her, she just says it, because she can. The world fears vulnerability, because it disarms. You enter a room and don't hide. You don't pretend to be happy. You don't smile out of politeness. You are with whatever lives inside you. You don't beg for approval. You don't wait to be loved for good behavior. You simply choose to be just as you are. And in that, there is a power words can't describe, because around you it becomes uncomfortable for those addicted to falseness, and for those ready for the real, it becomes deep and peaceful. You're no longer afraid of being seen. You no longer cover your cracks. You know, they don't make you weaker. They make you more alive. Vulnerability is not crying in a corner. It's the ability to look someone in the eye and say, I'm not invincible. I'm not made of steel. I'm real. And not feel that you're losing anything because of it. It's not weakness. It's trust in yourself. It's respect for your inner world. It's the kind of silence where you breathe without fear. You no longer pretend to be okay. You choose honesty. And that honesty, it's like a blade. It may be frightening, but it sets you free. You are not a mask, not a facade, not a shell. You are a feeling. You are a voice. You are a tremble. And if in this moment you are vulnerable, then you are in your power. Because you haven't abandoned yourself. You stayed close. You hold your heart in your hands, not as a weakness, but as strength. And you say to yourself, I'm not hiding. I feel, I breathe, I'm here. Manipulation. A word they taught you to stay away from. They said, it's dirty, it's vile. It's used by those who want to control others. And you must be pure, straightforward, simple. But the world isn't like that, and neither are you. From birth, you could influence. You knew how to shift the mood in a room. You sensed when to stay silent, and when a flutter of eyelashes would speak more than a speech. It wasn't science, it was art. You just knew, and for that, they shamed you. They said, don't use it, don't twist, don't control. Be honest, open, direct. But they were the very ones playing the game. They manipulated, with strength, with guilt, with obligations. They forbade you the very thing they used against you. You knew how to influence, but pretended you didn't. You felt how to make things go your way, but acted like you were just agreeable. You wanted to say, I see how you're playing me, but kept quiet, afraid you'd become just like them. But the truth is, manipulation is not evil. It's a tool, and like any tool, it depends on whose hands it's in. A knife can slice bread or wound. The issue isn't the knife. The issue is the intent. Feminine manipulation is ancient, not direct, not logical, not aggressive. It is like smoke, like a scent that lingers on the skin, like a feeling that makes you want to stay, though no one asked. You don't say, do this. You create desire. You don't demand, you suggest, you don't pressure. You inspire. You act not through frontal assault, but through the atmosphere you create. You don't command. You hint, as if casually. But the outcome is yours. This is not playing dolls. It's knowing nature. You can be angry and say nothing. But the air in the room grows dense. You can withdraw, and someone feels as if they've lost ground. You can say a phrase lightly, and it'll spin in their mind all night. You know how to be memorable, because you don't speak with words. You speak with your energy field. You influence. And that's not scary. That's natural. The masculine world always controlled directly, with strength, rules, commands. The feminine world influenced through something else, through the invisible, through a gesture, a look, a pause. And that is exactly why this way is called dirty, because it cannot be caught, it cannot be explained, it cannot be proven. It just works. Women who master this art are feared, because they are ungovernable, because near them a person changes. He starts to hear himself, or loses himself, or wakes up. These are the women they call dangerous. But the danger isn't in them. It's in the fact that near them everything becomes clear. You can inspire a man to greatness. You can support him, and he'll soar. You can show with a glance that he's losing you, and he'll chase. You can leave in silence, and that will say everything. You can silence a stream of words with just a murmur, because you feel how influence works. This is power, and you don't need to fear it. You need to know it. Don't suppress it. Don't pretend it's not there. Don't act like the girl who understands nothing. Say, yes, I can feel. Yes, I can influence. And I will use this consciously, without games, without fear, without guilt. Because a woman who owns herself is a woman who owns space, not through aggression, but through inner clarity. You can speak to the world without words. You can create movement simply by existing. You can change a man, not by breaking him, but by redirecting. You don't have to be straight as an arrow. You are like water. You flow, surround, seep in, fill. You can be gentle and powerful at once. You can be soft and still unshakable. And when you embrace this part of yourself, you no longer fear being inconvenient, because you no longer fear being a woman. You are tired, not from tasks, not from chores, but from the role you've played for far too long. You're tired of being someone loved because. You're tired of holding your face together while your heart falls apart. You're tired of forcing yourself into a shape your soul has no connection to. They taught you to be good, but they never taught you to be yourself. They told you how to be likable, but no one showed you how to be real. You've spent your whole life trying to match something, an image, an expectation, a model. You tried on what wasn't yours, other people's smiles, voices, masks. You hoped that if you did everything right, you'd be loved. And when you weren't, you thought you hadn't tried hard enough. But that's a lie. The problem isn't that you're not bright enough. It's that you betrayed your depth. Your strength is not in just a bit better. It's in returning to yourself, to the one who was with you from the very beginning, to the one who looked at you in the mirror as a child, before the rules, before the fear, before the shame. She was alive, wild, sensitive, knowing, and you locked her away, silenced her voice, because you had to be normal. Now listen, you do not have to be normal. You can be many things. You can be changing. You can be quiet when you're hurting. You can be a storm when you've been betrayed. You can be tender, not out of fear, but out of strength. You can be yourself, not because someone allowed it, but because it's time. You no longer need to fight for love, because you are love. You no longer need to earn attention, because your presence is already light. You no longer need to mute intuition, numb emotions, pretend everything's okay. You have the right to be alive. Light isn't a smile. Light is honesty. Light is your true eyes, unafraid to look directly, even if they're filled with tears. You are not broken. You're not too much. You're not enough. You've simply spent too long forgetting yourself. You lived with someone else's voice in your head. You should be convenient. You're too sensitive. You're too strange. You're too loud. You're too demanding. But that wasn't your voice. It was their fears, their limits, their inability. And you were just trying to survive in a world that didn't know how to see a real woman. Now things can be different. You don't have to become someone. You can simply stop being someone else. You can release what isn't yours. You can stop breaking yourself. You can allow yourself to feel, to want, to suffer, to desire, to rage, to forgive, to love. You cannot know who you are and still search. You can walk without a map and still be home, inside yourself. You are not a project, not a task, not a problem to fix. You are space. You are breath. You are energy. You are depth. That doesn't owe anyone understanding. You are a river that doesn't have to explain its flow. You do not become strong. You simply stop hiding the one you've always been. Not everyone has to agree with you. Not everyone has to love you. You are not for everyone. You are for yourself. And for those who feel how you shine even in the dark, come back, not to where it was comfortable, but to where it was real, to yourself.